Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Hi, Abhinav.
Hi Abdul.
Thank you for joining us today. We have an amazing audience right at the beginning. Let us get started. Assalamu alaikum to everyone again. It is absolutely a pleasure to have such a lovely audience on a Saturday, right after the holy break. The holy break, HOLI one, wherein a lot of you would have got holidays and would have been relaxed. Let's get started in this webinar. To introduce myself, my name is Abdul Hadi Sheikh. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Islamicly. A lot of you might already be knowing us. I have with me Abhinav. In a while, I'll make a detailed introduction about Abhinav as well. Let me just set the tone of this webinar. It has been the key initiative of Islamicly team to bring such products, such credible products to you as individuals and consumers, especially in the Indian subcontinent, wherein there is a huge amount of population which would like to unlock their investments and bring their funds into the capital markets and help in nation building. With the grace of God, we have Tata Mutual Fund, which has been running for quite a long time, which is a Sharia compliant mutual fund. Abhinav in a while is going to give you a detailed review as to what is the investment product, how it works, and the likes of it. You are hearing today directly from the fund manager, and all questions regarding how the fund works, what are the prospects of it, what is the strategy behind it, Abhinav will be happy to take you through that. So the format is going to be very simple. I will make an introduction to Abhinav. Abhinav will then take over. He will have about 20 minutes of talk in which he's going to talk about the fund as such. Post that, we can have a Q&A session. And as usual, we always ensure that we have a good Q&A session. Now, the format of the Q&A session is, if you see on the right-hand side of your screen, there is a chat function. It's the third option from the top right. Keep punching in your questions over there. And inshallah, at the end of what Abhinav has to say, we will take up those questions and answer those questions. If time does not permit us to take all the questions, we will ensure that we will have the answers posted to you. We will have all of this recorded and posted on our YouTube channel as well as you can access this webinar through the Islamicly app as well. So don't worry if you miss some part of it or if you have to hurry out. It's always better that you stay and stick to the webinar, ask the questions, and then be satisfied. But unfortunately, if you're not able to stick around till the end, the entire webinar will be recorded, will be available on our YouTube channel, as well as it will be available on Islamicly app, wherein you can watch this video again and again. Let's get started. It's absolutely a pleasure for me to introduce Abhinav over here. They've been very, very gracious in terms of obliging us and coming on this webinar so that the Islamicly audience hears directly from the fund manager. So a brief profile about Abhinav. So he's Abhinav Sharma. With over 15 years of industry experience, Abhinav is the fund manager for Tata Infrastructure Fund, as well as the assistant fund manager for Tata Multi-Cap Fund. His previous stints were as a research analyst with HDFC Securities Limited from June 2012 to July 2015, and with JM Financial Asset Management Limited from August 2008 to May 2012, tracking infrastructure and related sectors. Abhinav has also worked as a research analyst at Lehman Brothers India and BRICS Securities Limited. Abhinav is qualified as a Bachelor of Technology from IIT Roorkee and has a postgraduate diploma in management from IIM Lucknow. As you can see, your money is in safe hands and is in experienced hands as well. Abhinav, if you could take over, it will be great from here onwards. You have about 20 to 25 minutes, and post that, we will take questions as well. The audience is already lovely, so you can either punch in the questions in the chat function or in the Q&A section. We will go through both of these one by one. And Abhinav, if you feel like taking any of the questions in the middle of it as well, keep an eye on the questions as well, or else finish your presentation and then we'll do the questions at the end. Abhinav, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Abdul. At the outset, thanks a lot, everyone, for taking time on this Saturday morning. And as Abdul said, we have had a break also. So thanks again. I hope I am audible, Abdul, right? Great. So I have a small presentation with me. So I'll share it. In this presentation, I'll spend some time, most of the time, in fact, on the fund objective, how we ensure it is Sharia compliant, what is the investment philosophy there. I'll talk about the historical performance of the fund, and maybe for 2, 3, or 5 minutes, I'll just talk about the current market and how our portfolio is positioned. And then I think in the question and answer sessions, we can cover the rest of it. So, the objective of the fund is to generate medium to long-term capital gains by investing in equity and equity-related instruments of Sharia-compliant companies. So the key word here is Sharia compliance. Now, I would just like to clarify one thing, that we at Tata Asset Management, we do not do the screening of Sharia compliant companies. It is done by our external advisor, and the external advisor here is TASIS, which is Taqwa Advisory and Sharia Investment Solutions Private Limited. So we have been taking their help in getting our fund Sharia compliant. So I'll talk about the mechanics of it. But first, let me just say, I think the audience may be aware, but these are the kind of businesses which we are not investing in. And this again is based on the advice we get from our advisor. So as you can see, most of the businesses which are based on interest or risk, or which are into non-halal food products, uh, game of chance, entertainment and leisure, weapons, those kind of sectors or businesses are completely prohibited while we are investing. So the key thing for us as people who invest into the equity markets in India, and the key business which is getting excluded here, is the financials. So if I look at the Indian market or Indian share market, stock market composition, nearly 35% or so is comprised of financials. So that is something which is completely excluded from the investment universe of this fund. Besides, as I said, there are other businesses which we do not invest in, but from our perspective, in when we talk about investments, these are not very meaningful investments, or say meaningful sectors any which ways when we look at the Indian markets. So there are two kinds of screening which our partners do for us. One is the business screening, which I said, if any company is engaged in these kind of businesses and majority of their business or income is coming from these businesses, then they are completely excluded from our investment universe. There is another compliance which our advisors do for us, which is the financial screening. So these are some of the criteria which is used while screening the companies, so as to they make the cut for Sharia compliance. So one is we check on the leverage, or they check on the leverage or the debt which the company has. So if a company has a debt of 25% or below as a proportion of their total assets, then only it gets included in our investment universe, which we can invest in. Secondly, they should also have cash and account receivables, which should not be greater than 90% of their total assets, and interest income uh, from interest-based investment should be less than 3% of the total income. So I'll not get too much into the mathematics of it, and maybe we can cover it during the Q&A. But these are the financial metrics which are used. So after this, we arrive at an investment universe, and our advisors, TASIS, they give us every month the investment universe. So every month we get the investment universe, and it is screened. Uh, our portfolio is also screened every month for Sharia compliance, and they give a confirmation, or let's say a certificate to us every month, that the portfolio is Sharia compliant. So it is done every month, and it's not done say every 6 months or 3 months, every quarter. It's done every month. And the question which sometimes comes is that what if a security is not Sharia compliant, then what is the time limit we have to exit it? So we have an exit time limit of around 1 month. So let's say from the date they inform us, TASIF informs us that this particular security in the portfolio has become Sharia non-compliant, then we have around 30 days to exit it. But practically, uh, in my experience, we take around 5 to 10 days to exit the complete position. So that is how we ensure that the fund is Sharia compliant all the time. So as I said, this is how the screening is done. Now, what is left after this? So before that, for the fund specifically, I will just like to mention that the benchmark we follow is Nifty 500 Sharia total return index. So Nifty also has their own Sharia index, which again is fairly similar to what we have in terms of composition of the stocks, composition of the sectors. So that is the benchmark, and I will just take you through to what is exactly comprises in the benchmark. So these on the left hand side, you can see uh, the sectors which are there, which is mainly information technology, consumer goods, pharmaceuticals. These are and industrial manufacturing. These are some of the top sector composition. And on the right hand side, you can see the top constituents by weightage of the benchmark. Again, it's not the fund, it's the benchmark. So again, you can see some of the best companies in the country. They are part of the benchmark. And out of the Nifty 500 index, around 223 companies are Sharia compliant, which form part of this benchmark index. So Nifty Sharia index, as of now, it has around 223 companies. And so as I said, out of the 500 companies in the Nifty 500, around say 40% of them are Sharia compliant. So this is the benchmark we follow. Now, what exactly is left for us? So as I said, we get an investment universe from our investment advisors at the beginning of every month, and it has as on February, this is the kind of market cap or market capitalization wise distribution of our investment universe. Uh, so around 40,000 crore, more than 40,000 crores market cap, we have 46 companies. From 10,000 crores to 40,000 crores, we have 91 companies. And 3,000 crores to 10,000 crores market cap range, we have 116 companies. So this is essentially the investment universe for us as fund managers when we look at the investment or we look to take positions into a stock. And these are all Sharia compliant companies. Now, again, one question which audience may have is that since we have already excluded a large part of the Indian markets, which is financials, so then that means that there is a high chance that the fund may not be able to uh, uh, give good returns. And does it matter? Does it make sense for us as investors to invest in the fund? Uh, and what kind of returns we have generated over long terms? I think that is important here. And this is the historical performance which we have been able to generate. So you can see I have given this is as on February 28, 2022. Uh, and this is over a 1, 3, 5, and 7 year period. And you can see the ethical fund, the Tata Ethical Fund, has done better than the Nifty 50 and Nifty 500 over all these time frames, which is really interesting, right? Because uh, on the one hand, we are saying the fund is Sharia compliant, it has got these restrictions, it has got these many restrictions, we cannot invest in these stocks. But on the other hand, the performance says that we have actually done better than Nifty 50 and Nifty 500, which do not have any restrictions in terms of Sharia compliance. Even if you look at the average of large cap funds which are there in the market, uh, we have actually done better than them. And even the most diversified fund category, which is the flexi cap fund we have in India, which can invest in any sector, any company, even that we have done better than. So this, I think, is a testament to the kind of theme which the fund has. Right? So on the one hand, yes, it's Sharia compliant, and but we also have to look at what does Sharia compliance ultimately mean. So what it means is that the investment universe which we are left with, the stocks which we invest in, are the ones which have very low leverage, which is very low borrowings or debt, and which have got high dividend paying capacity or high growing capacity. And these kind of companies, anyways, over a long term, we have seen as investors that these kind of companies are able to compound wealth at a much better rate compared to companies which have leverage in it.
I'd like to add over here for all the audiences, and we're going to use a little bit of English also over here, क्योंकि यहाँ पे हर तरह की audience है. अगर आप ये देखें कि हर आदमी हर सेक्टर में हमेशा ये पूछता है कि शरिया रिस्ट्रिक्शंस लगाता है तो हमें सारे स्टॉक्स में इन्वेस्ट करने का मौका नहीं मिलता. Why is there Sharia restrictions? And as you can see, you've heard it directly from the fund manager कि Sharia restrictions के साथ भी in the most diversified or the most flexible fund जो लोग manage कर रहे हैं, it has, the Sharia fund has beaten the performance as of now. Okay, as of now, between those funds and the Sharia funds. So अगर आप देखें, on an average about 60% companies Sharia non-compliant रहती हैं by applying Sharia screening criteria, और सिर्फ 40% कंपनी जो compliant रहती हैं, इसी में से invest करके Tata Mutual Funds have proven that by adhering to Sharia principles, you are indeed not compromising on the returns of the fund. For that matter, it is proven through data as of now that returns on a Sharia compliant fund are much better, or at least better than a fund which has no Sharia restrictions. So, I'd like Abhinav continue from here, but I wanted to come in and make this point कि अगर आप देखें कि Sharia restrictions आपके returns पे impact नहीं करता. So that is a key takeaway from this thing, and you have heard it directly from a seasoned asset manager. Abhinav, you can continue. Sorry.
Yeah, Abdul, you are right. So the fact is that, and I was just saying कि why is it the case, right? कि ऐसा क्यों है कि we are able to generate, and first and foremost, this is all historical numbers. It may happen that this performance may not be repeated, right? This is a disclaimer which I want to give. But as on February 28, 2022, this is what the performance has been, and these are annualized returns. So just to clarify on this also, कि ये annualized return has. So this is, when I say 3 years, it doesn't mean that 3 years it has given 22.7. It means that every year it has given 22.7% return on an average. So why is it like that is what I wanted to stress. And what I have seen managing this fund, and I haven't managed it for 1 year, I have close to 1 year now, is that the theme itself is very powerful. हम लोग बोलते हैं कि as investors, let us say when I have to invest in a company, I look at a company जिसमें कि debt नहीं है, which has a good cash flow generation capacity, which has a long term growth track record, और वो automatically इस theme में we are getting. So that is personally is what I think the reason for this kind of a performance, and it has stood the test of time, right? 1 year, 3 year, 5 years, 7 year. I haven't given 10 years all here, but if I go back 10 years also, we have done better. So that is, I think, an important criteria for investors to consider. I will just take few minutes more on the philosophy and the process which we follow. So we look at companies, again, first of all, we have got an investment universe जो कि हमें मिलता है in any case, which is Sharia compliance. But within that, again, we have to choose, right? What all has to go into the portfolio. So this is what we look at. We look at companies जहाँ पे कि governance is good, which have capital efficiency. When I say capital efficiency, what does it mean? It means that उनके return ratio, ROEs, ROCE, रिटर्न ऑन इक्विटी वो अच्छा होना चाहिए. देयर देयर अप्रोच टुवर्ड्स माइनॉरिटी शेयर होल्डर्स शुड बी गुड. देन वैल्यूएशन वाइज दे शुड नॉट बी वेरी एक्सपेंसिव. ऐसा नहीं कि हम लोग बहुत सस्ते स्टॉक्स और वेरी चीप स्टॉक्स, लो पीई स्टॉक्स ही खरीदेंगे, बट वी डोंट वांट टू बाय वेरी हाई पीई स्टॉक्स आल्सो. So that is some of the criteria I think which we use here. Uh, Number of stocks around, say you can say around 50 stocks is what we prefer on an average in the portfolio. Currently we may be having around 51 or 52 stocks in the portfolio. Research based hai. Everything is research based. There is no exposure to derivatives, options, anything. No swaps, nothing. It's all equity holdings. Portfolio में in terms of weightage, so I will just take you to the weightage what we have right now. So these are the sectors जो अभी form the part of our portfolio. So you can see information technology, consumer and infrastructure related companies. They are forming bulk of the portfolio. And just to give you an idea, going forward, अगर मुझे देखना है कि what kind of composition this portfolio will have. So it will have a mix of IT consumer, which will always be there. So information technology and consumer stocks will form generally around 50% at plus of this portfolio. The remaining 50% can vary. It can. So right now आप देख रहे हो कि infrastructure में ज़्यादा है. Maybe if you come back say 2 years or 3 years, or if you had looked back 2 years, 3 years, it could have been pharma, which would have a higher weightage. So just to give you an indication of how the fund is being managed over a period of time. These are the top 10 holdings which we have. This again is as on 20th Feb. So you can see some of the largest companies in the country, they are part of it. And another question which we get is what is the large cap, mid cap, small cap, that kind of distribution in the fund. And this is what it is right now. So around 55% is in large cap. Small cap, our small cap weightage has come down. If you can see from September 21 it was 15%, now it is 12%. So that is based on our view कि small caps were relatively expensive at that point of time. And that's the view we still hold, that small caps abhi bhi thode expensive है compared to large caps. So that this kind of distribution of portfolio you may see going forward also. In terms of sectors I spoke, so these are the sectors which are mainly part of this. And isme IT is something which we are quite positive on, and I will just touch upon why we are so positive. So if I look at the structural themes, or when we make a portfolio, we make a portfolio for long term. We don't look at it in terms of say 3 months or 6 months. We look at over a period of 3 to 5 years. And अगर मैं 3 to 5 years का व्यू लेता हूँ, तो I think these are some of the trends which are quite visible. One is digitalization. I think it's the fact that today I am talking to so many such a big audience sitting at my home is a testament that digitalization is a part of our life. आज हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं metaverse, right? So maybe tomorrow this may happen, or not. If not tomorrow, maybe over a 2 to 3 year time frame, this kind of webinar may happen in a metaverse. So the fact is that digitalization, or the penetration of information technology in our life, it is increasing all the time. So that is a theme जो कि आगे भी मुझे लगता है, and it has been a trend for the last 20 years. मुझे लगता है आने वाले 20 years में भी this is the theme which will continue. Couple of other themes which we are looking at, and these are very relevant. One is decarbonization. We know pollution, environmental consciousness has become very important. सिर्फ इंडिया में ही नहीं बल्कि everywhere. And this is something जिसमें we are looking at investment opportunities in a theme which, in stocks which are a play on this theme. Lastly, or let's say before that, there are two other themes which we are looking at as investors. and current conflict which is going on in Russia and Ukraine has basically given a push to these two themes, which is basically diversification of global manufacturing or supply chain and self-reliance in manufacturing, not only in manufacturing but in a lot of other factors. I think those are the two themes which will be very very prominent, because as COVID and the conflict has shown that it is very important for a country to be self-reliant. So India, we could vaccinate such a large population uh, in such a short period of time because we had a pharma industry which was more or less self-reliant. Now think of countries, in a lot of countries where pharma manufacturing ecosystem was not there, and they had so much difficulties in procuring vaccines. Similarly, now we are looking at the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, and you look at the defense manufacturing capabilities in India, and we are so much dependent on outside countries for that. And so there is a growing realization that we have to be self-reliant here also. So I think this is a theme, not only pharma and defense, but in various other sectors, which is going to play out. And lastly, India is a growing economy. We are a young economy. We all know that we are a young country. Our median age is, if I'm not wrong, it's below 35 at least. So we have an aspirational population, and so that is basically when I say premiumization is something which is a theme. We all want to move up in life, right? We are not like a developed economy where the average age is close to 50 and people are looking more towards their retirement. Here we are more looking more towards our productive life. So premiumization is a trend which will continue in Indian economy. So ये कुछ ऐसे themes हैं which are structural, and this is where our portfolio will be structured. I am not talking about the short-term trends in the market. I think because there is lot of noise always around what is happening currently, but I have seen over a period of time that the noise continues, but the events change. So let's not focus on that noise. One should look at the structural themes, and this is where the fund is going to invest. We will look at companies which are fundamentally good, जहाँ पे कि obviously the theme itself helps कि already we are looking at companies जहाँ पे low leverage है, low debt है, but for us as fund manager we have to choose the best which we think is the best among them, and this is what the guiding light for that will be. Uh, so I will stop here. I think I have already taken around 25 minutes, and I'll let's take Q&A, and maybe we can cover more of it during the Q&A session.
Yes, Abhinav, thank you for your time on this. मुझे लगता है कि आपसे डायरेक्टली सुनने के बाद बहुत सारे इन्वेस्टर्स के जो डाउट्स थे कि फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल जो सबसे बड़ा क्वेश्चन हमेशा से ये आता था कि is there a capable effort being put behind managing such funds? So that वो ऐसा जो सवाल है ये सबसे पहले लोगों के दिमाग से हट गया होगा कि भाई अभिनव जी मैनेज कर रहे हैं फंड को, he has a very good outlook and a very experienced hand at that. So that was one of the key things that is coming out from this session. Apart from that, just to set the tone in terms of housekeeping, Abhinav will be taking questions regarding the fund performance in terms of what is the sectoral investments he'd like to do, more and more questions about that. Questions regarding whether a particular stock is compliant or not, or why is it in the portfolio. I don't think he will be able to answer that question. Islamicly team will be happy to answer those questions. So wherever those questions come, Abhinav, I'll be happy to take those questions. And as the disclaimer has already been given, that Tata Mutual Fund or Tata Ethical Fund does not do the screening themselves. They use the services of an external Sharia advisor. They have named the Sharia advisor to be TASIS, which is a Mumbai-based organization, has experienced team at their end and has a credible Sharia scholars board as well. So as we go along, we will answer questions. Let me just start off. Abhinav, I think it will be better that if you could click on the Q&A where there are focused questions, and then we'll come back to the chat questions.
Okay.
Okay. So let me take the questions, and I'll ask Abhinav to come in for his expertise. I'll start from the first question which came in. Uh, Mr. Abdullah is asking a question regarding Grasim Industries. That is a question which we were quite expecting will come up in this webinar. Let me answer all queries regarding Grasim Industries once and for all, so that Abhinav can then focus on the other areas. See, first of all, yes, on Islamicly platform, Grasim Industries may have a different compliance, whereas on the Tata Ethical Fund, it is deemed as Sharia compliant, and hence it has been invested into by the fund manager. Now, first of all, it is not up to the fund manager to understand whether a particular stock is Sharia compliant or not, because they have clearly worked with only Sharia compliant stocks in the opinion of the external Sharia advisor. So the external Sharia advisor over here has given them a list saying that Grasim Industries is compliant point in time. Sharia compliance is point in time. Please remember that. So point in time, जब वो Sharia compliant था और है, उस टाइम पे फंड मैनेजर ने इन्वेस्ट किया. So it is out of the purview of the fund manager, so that we ask them, why did you invest in Grasim? I mean, yes, we can ask Abhinav fundamentally why does he think Grasim is a strong stock, but we cannot ask him or cannot ask Tata whether fundamentally is this Sharia compliant or not, because that's the job of the Sharia advisor. So that's point number one. Point number two here is, yes, there is a screening criteria difference between how Islamicly uses a particular criteria to arrive at Sharia compliance. Similarly, the Sharia advisor of Tata Ethical Fund uses a different Sharia screening criteria. Abhinav did touch upon the criteria at the beginning. You can have a look of the criteria on their website as well as the key information documents and all the other prospectus of the fund, wherein you can clearly find the criteria क्या है जिसके तहत ये compliance किया गया है. Thirdly, the principal activity of Grasim Industries on a standalone basis seems to be Sharia compliant. On a consolidated basis, the criteria fails as far as Islamically is concerned. But when TASIS, who is the Sharia advisor to the Tata Ethical Fund, as per their criteria, they are considering only standalone financials. Hence, according to their criteria, it seems correct. Now, the third question which will come up regarding Grasim Industries is the fact that हम किसको follow करें, Islamically को follow करें या TASIS को follow करें या Tata Ethical Fund को, should we have our trust that it is Sharia compliant? All scholars in the world have a very simple principle regarding this, so that there is zero confusion in the market. As long as a product has a Sharia certification, which is in effect and is signed by a Sharia advisory firm, naming the scholar as well, you should understand that this is a Sharia compliant fund and you can go ahead and invest in it. Very simple. I'll repeat this. अगर कोई फाइनेंशियल प्रोडक्ट जिसके ऊपर शरिया सर्टिफिकेशन इफेक्टिव है, उसकी ऑडिट्स भी इफेक्टिव हैं, और ये शरिया सर्टिफिकेशन किसी शरिया एडवाइजरी फर्म ने दिया है, और इट हैज टू बी साइंड एज वेल बाय अ शरिया स्कॉलर, एवरीबॉडी should have reasonable comfort कि इसके ऊपर शरिया ऑडिट मैकेनिज्म लागू किया गया है and the entire fund is being managed in a Sharia compliant manner. So let's end the debate over here that whether this fund is Sharia compliant or not, because as I can see, there is a Sharia certification given by a credible Sharia organization for Tata Ethical Fund. There is a screening criteria that they are following. According to the screening criteria followed by the Sharia advisor to Tata Ethical Fund, this stock seems compliant. Hence, we will keep that and we will assume and understand and appreciate that Tata Ethical Fund is a Sharia compliant fund. And as we've heard from Abhinav as well, that they are very, very cognizant of the fact that सिर्फ उसी stocks में invest करना है जो Sharia compliant है, as given by the advisor. Clear? So I will ignore all the questions on Grasim from now onwards. If you still have questions, feel free to post it on the Islamicly platform and we'll be happy to answer them as well. Okay. Atul Malik is asking, is the portfolio investing in equities in India or foreign equities as well? Abhinav?
No, it is only Indian equities. No
Only
foreign
equities. So exposure is only for Indian equities.
Yes.
Also remember that this fund is tracking the Nifty 500 total return index, the Sharia version of it. So since it's Nifty 500, यहाँ पे तो सिर्फ Indian stocks ही हैं, and hence the exposure is only to India. You can find all of this information on the prospectus as well as key information document as well. There's a question from Shahid Anjum saying that, okay, he says that he is already invested in it. Thank you, Shahid. Question from Atul Malik is, what is the expense ratio for this fund? As you can see, ye sare technical details are dynamic in nature and they are clearly disclosed on the website of the product. So if you can see the website of the product, which is Tata Ethical Fund, just Google it. You will have a very beautiful page which will come up. Let me just share it for you as well over here so that.
Yeah, Abdul, just one point here. As on February 28 fact sheet, the direct fund has an expense ratio of 1.2, and the regular fund has an expense ratio of 2.3.
Yes.
1.18 and 2.29.
Perfect. That answers the question. For in future also, अगर आपको ये questions के answers चाहिए, तो it will available in real time or whenever it is published on the Tata Ethical Funds website as well. They are very transparent in terms of all of these questions. आपको tabular form में clear cut information उनके website पे मिल जाएगा. Okay, let's go through the questions quickly. There is a question which says, what is the difference between direct and regular plan?
So the difference is that in a regular plan, we do take help of an investment advisor or a third party, let's say a bank or a distributor, to sell the product. So while in a direct fund, it's mostly the company, the Tata Asset Management, which takes the effort to sell the product. So you can understand that if you take help of a third party advisor, you have to pay something to them. So the direct fund has a lower expense ratio, as I mentioned. As on February 28, the direct fund has an expense ratio of 1.18, while the regular plan has an expense ratio of 2.29. So the difference between the two is basically what is being paid to the third party advisor. So this is the difference between the direct and a regular plan. And it's not only in the ethical fund, it's across all the mutual fund schemes which are there in the country.
Yes, it is standard to all the schemes. So it's not only on this. And whatever is the expense ratio on the direct plan as well as the other plans is also available on the regular plan is also available on the website. There is a question which from Nikhat Qureshi, which is asking about tax benefit. So on this as well, there is a clear disclaimer given in the key information document that this Tata Ethical Fund is not an ELSS scheme, and hence the 80C benefit is not available when you invest in this. But yes, as is applicable to all mutual funds as per the current income tax rules, the returns have a taxation on it, and you can check for the exemptions of taxation on the returns of the fund. But on the principal amount that you invest in, as of now, this is not an ELSS scheme, and hence tax benefit is not available. I'm not sure if Abhinav will have information whether you'd like to extend this fund into a tax saving scheme or not. That's something for the product team at Tata to answer. But it's a good question, and if there is any update on that, we will liaison with Tata AMC and get back to you whether there are plans to get this into an ELSS scheme or not. Because I believe there is a significant demand for it from a tax saving perspective. Let's move on. Shahir is asking question, how can he start investing in this? Shahir, it's a very good question. As you can see, Islamicly has brought about this info webinar today so that we create awareness on such a mutual fund scheme, which is Sharia compliant. Inshallah, very soon, we are getting into a relationship with Tata Asset Management, through the Islamicly platform as well, you can start investing in such schemes. We will hold a separate webinar for that and give a proper training and a demo as to how that happens once the entire setup is done. So inshallah, very soon, through Islamicly app itself, we will be able to invest in this scheme as well. We're just waiting for the documentation and the legal formalities to be completed. And once that is done, you'll be able to invest directly into it. In the meanwhile, you can also go to the Tata AMC website, click on Start Investing Now, and finish your KYC and start getting invested as well. It's a very simple, straightforward, techno-savvy, seamless integration that we are also looking, and what is already available with Tata on their website as well. So either you wait for us for a couple of weeks, or if you're in a hurry, you can directly go to Tata AMC website, check for this fund, and start investing from there as well. All right. There is a question about how do you purify this? Again, Abhinav, it's a very straightforward answer, so I'll take it from here. Please. Purification is also calculated by the Sharia advisor over here. As you can see on the website, there is a section through which you can start. I'll just share my screen so that I can show people simultaneously as well. If you can see my screen, this is a website called tatamutualfund.com, products plus Tata Ethical Fund. If I scroll down on this, you can see there is a tool called Know Your Purging Amount. Utilize this tool. What's going to happen with this tool is an Excel sheet like this will open up. You can punch in the date of investment, the NAV, and this will automatically give you the amount that you need to purge over here. Try it out. If you have any issues, you can get in touch with the customer support of Tata as well, or you can ask us as well. So it's all given out over here very, very nicely and in very simple format as well. So I've answered the question regarding purification. How to invest we've already answered that. Can you share the slides? The entire recording will be available, so don't worry about that. Rahim Khayyam is asking a good question. Abhinav, you could probably answer this. He says, apart from Tata Ethical Funds, is there any other funds following Sharia compliance? So do you have any other fund within the Tata AMC group which is Sharia compliant, or is it the only fund as of now?
Yes, within the Tata group, Tata AMC group, this is the only fund.
This is the only fund.
Yes.
Okay. While we are at this, there are a couple of questions which keep coming that Tata Digital Fund, the composition of Tata Digital Fund seems to be compliant. So is investing in that Tata Digital Fund Sharia compliant? To which I will answer the question. As we've said, that Tata Ethical Fund is Sharia compliant because of two things. The first is they have a Sharia certification. Second is they have a Sharia audit mechanism in place as well. So as you can see, Tata Digital Fund does not have that. And hence, classifying this as Sharia compliant may not be the correct way of doing it. So Tata Ethical Fund is compliant as per the certifications they have. Tata Digital Fund does not have that certification, and hence calling it a Sharia compliant fund is not correct. So I've answered that question as well. Question from Asif, how is interest income identified? This is a screening question, and I don't think Abhinav will be able to answer that. Let's take the other question. So there's a question from Ahmed Arsi. He says, what is better, SIP or lump sum? What is your 2 cents on that, Abhinav?
I will say always SIP is better because lump sum, when you invest lump sum, you are essentially trying to time the market. So which is not right in my sense. So SIP is better. That's my 2 bits on it.
Brilliant. It is always in the long run, SIPs always do better than lump sum. But yes, you will have these case studies which will also say that if you had put this lump sum at this point in time, you would have made this amount of money. But as with all investments, past performance is no guarantee for future performance. That disclaimer has been given on our slides as well, and from an investor advisory platform as well. You can see that SIPs are steady, stable. You don't need to bother about timing the market, whether it's up, down. It's a stable, it averages out a lot of market fluctuations. So Abhinav's 2 cents on this is SIP is much better than lump sum. Okay, question on purging. We've already answered that. Other funds of Sharia compliant is not relevant to Abhinav. How premiums are paid to the customers. Not sure what this means. Does it mean that how dividends are given out on this fund? I'm not sure. Any which way, let's skip this question. Saqib is asking a question: can you provide the list of companies where we can invest looking into Sharia compliance? Saqib, all companies which are Sharia compliant are only invested in by the Tata Ethical Fund. If you're looking for all the Sharia compliant stocks on NSE or BSE, you can refer on the Islamicly app. We have a full coverage on there as well. Atul is asking a good question again. What is the return of dividend option of Tata Ethical Fund? Abhinav?
Yeah, so I don't have that data in front of me. So maybe our product team will get back to you on this. I don't have that data right now in front.
It's available on the product.
It should be available on the website.
Yes. Arshi is asking what are different kinds of investment plans. Which plan is suggested for one who's starting to invest? As you can see, Arshi, there is only one fund under the Tata umbrella, which is Sharia compliant. There are two ways of investing in it. Either you do an SIP or you do a lump sum investment. Again, either you can go in for a regular plan or a direct investment plan. All of it depends on what your investment parameter is, what your income parameters are. So please consult an investment advisor who will be able to better advise you on this. Question from Fayaz. How much should we invest in a month? The basic amounts of investments per month, the minimum amounts are also given on the website. It is clearly says that the minimum amount of purchase is 5,000 Indian rupees. Additional purchases can be done for 1,000 rupees and multiples of rupee one thereafter. Redemption amounts per unit is 500 or 50 units. All of this information is clearly given on the website of Tata AMC for this fund as well. Question from Qadir, and Abhinav is asking you. He says, don't you look out for electric vehicle sector for long term?
No, it's a good sector. So the only thing is that we have to look at companies which are Sharia compliant in this sector, and secondly, the number of companies which are anyways available within the Indian markets are not very much. But having said that, when we say electric vehicle sector, it's not only the automobile companies who benefit from it, but there is a long list of companies like companies which make batteries, companies which make software for it, and I think you will find some companies in our portfolio which are basically supplying software to automobile companies. So that is how we are looking to play this, and we are on the lookout for more such opportunities. So yes, we try to get into this sector as much as possible.
So there's a question from Muhammad Iqbal Razi. He says, post December 2021, the fund seems to be volatile and NAV and portfolio value is decreasing. Has that been the trend starting during start of any calendar year, or is it the Russia-Ukraine war? And also, what is advisable for new investors as a pure lump sum?
See, first of all, it's not every calendar year you will see this. Secondly, markets can be volatile in the short term. 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. You can have negative returns. That is not unheard of. Even for 2 years, one can have negative returns. So don't bother about it. Is what my suggestion is to retail investors. Continue investing in SIPs. Over a long run, all these things will even out. We saw what happened during COVID. I think it's the best example, which is the most recent example जो हम देख सकते हैं. From January 20 to March 20, what happened to the market, and then how they recovered. So ऐसा नहीं कि हर बार same template follow होगा, but the markets will always be volatile. As I said, there will always be a lot of noise around the markets. So let us ignore that noise and look at the long-term trends which are there. And if we look at the long-term trends, then only we will make money. Otherwise, if we get worried about short-term trends, then it is not good for our investment and also not good for our health. So let's not look at too much into short-term. just keep on investing in SIPs is what my suggestion is. Long run equity markets and Tata Ethical Fund both have proven their worth.
Absolutely, and in a reasonably long period of time,
Yes.
given the markets. Abhinav, there is appreciation for you. People are asking, is there any other fund that are managed by Mr. Abhinav Sharma? What happens if fund manager is changed? I like the way Mr. Sharma explained and is managing the fund, and I wish him to continue managing the fund forever.
Good. That's very good to hear. But I will like to say that the fund has a very long-term track record, and it has seen various fund managers. So it's good that that kind of appreciation is there. But even if tomorrow the fund manager is changed, I am sure the fund will continue to perform as well as it has. Because I think the theme itself is very strong. That is my view, and I have been in the markets for a long time, and I think the theme itself is very strong in this case.
Sounds good. Thank you, Abhinav. There's a very good question from Saeed as well. He's asking who takes decisions or decide to invest in a particular stock. Is it a single person or a team at Tata
See, we do have a team.
of stock selection?
Yes, so there is a team. We have analysts. I myself am an analyst for the infrastructure sector. There are sector analysts as well. We have our CIO, Chief Investment Officer, who is there. So, so we all are there to ultimately find the number. And if I have to get an assistance from someone in terms of what kind of stocks are there in that particular sector, uh, I can always get an assistance. But the final decision to include in the scheme is ultimately the fund managers, uh, and that is where the responsibility lies.
Sounds good. So what Abhinav is trying to say over here is that there is a structured approach to picking stocks. There is a CIO who gives out his views. Then there are specific research analysts who conduct detailed reviews of what they are supposed to do. But the buck stops with the fund manager, whether he would want to invest in a particular stock or not. I hope that answers your question. So it's a collective as well as an individual approach over here combined to give you the returns. Sounds good. Uh, okay, very nice question. Shadab is asking, how can I maximize a return? Is there any precise technique? Abhinav, what do you think of this?
No, there is no such precise technique, honestly.
Yeah.
So just keep investing in SIPs, and I think that's where I can say you can maximize your returns. But we keep in mind that ultimately the returns will be finally driven by how the Indian economy performs in the long run. So if we have a good view on the Indian economy, I think the returns will follow. There is no technique to maximize the returns per se.
Sounds good. Yeah. So there's no magic wand. There's no magic formula that people are hiding from you. It is that we've got to be consistent and do our own research as well as picking who's doing better and who's slacking off. And yes, as Abhinav said, it will get correlated, largely correlated with how the Indian economy performs. Sounds good. Let's move on. Uh, People are asking, could you please let us know whether you can get a chance to speak to TASIS, Maulana Saab directly for support? Again, this is a Sharia related question, so I'll skip it for now. Very good question from Nikhat Qureshi. It's being asked that can Tata create a fund for Sharia compliant US stocks? So as you can see, there's this theme, especially in emerging markets, that people would like to pick up blue chip stocks from the Western markets. So I think I'll split this question into two parts. One, what are your 2 cents about investing cross-border, especially in blue chip companies in the US markets? And more specifically, is there any plan that Tata wishes to launch a cross-border investment fund?
You are saying on the Sharia compliance basis?
In this entire webinar, it's only related to Sharia.
No, so I am not aware of it, and I think it's a good idea. Maybe our product team will take a note of it. But as of now, I don't think there is any such plan. But again, I'm not the best person for it. In terms of investing across markets, yes, it's a good trend. It's a good diversification approach. But again, one has to be so doing it yourself may not always be the best idea, is what I will suggest. unless you have the risk appetite to do it. Otherwise, there are various mutual funds which are available, which are investing across borders. Uh, I am not aware of Sharia compliant mutual funds, but at least in general, there are a lot of such projects which are available nowadays. So there are such. I think it's a good trend. Uh, so I will stop at that, and maybe Abdul, you can come in.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I would also say, second what Abhinav is saying. In addition, since Tata does not currently have a Sharia compliant fund which invests cross-border, uh, it's up to the team Islamicly to bring you such products from those markets and probably do a webinar like this with those fund managers in place. So we have plans probably in the next couple of weeks or the following webinars. We will also bring in a couple of international Sharia compliant funds in which we as Indians or people from the Indian community can also invest in. We will bring those awareness webinars as well. So they are all lined up as well. So a mutual fund or an ETF or a Sharia compliant PMS scheme, which is Sharia compliant, whether in Australia, UK, US, and in developed markets, we will also be bringing those webinars very, very soon. They're already planned up and we'll be disclosing as we move along. So that's the questions over here. I'm skipping the tax questions. I'm skipping the questions on purification because we already answered those questions. Again, Sharia compliance questions I am ignoring. How to get the Nifty Sharia stock list? First of all, Nifty Sharia stock list is owned by Nifty, owned by NSE. So you'll have to approach NSE and then get that list. Else, a very easy way of getting real-time Sharia compliant list stocks is to come on Islamicly platform and have a look at it. There are questions which is, Abhinav, how do we get in touch with you? Could you please share Abhinav's contact details? So Abhinav, what do you have to say about that?
So the best way is to get through Tata Asset Management team, and then we can get in touch. Or maybe Islamically can arrange another such webinar for it.
Yes. So once we start allowing investments through Islamically, we'll probably periodically, I mean, not very, very frequently, but periodically we can have an EMA session with the fund manager directly. And as you all are in love with Abhinav already, he will also be happy to come again on this webinar and probably have an EMA with us. But currently, the best way and the most structured way of getting in touch and getting your answers, your queries answered, is to get in touch with the customer support at Tata or get in touch with your investment advisor and funnel those questions. They will get back to you on a timely manner and satisfy your questions. So if you have an investment advisor, it's always recommended that you get in touch with an investment advisor. He will have the answers upfront itself. Or else, if you have a direct investor, then you can get in touch with the customer support through the websites as well as the call center numbers which are given. Okay, I'm ignoring the technical questions because Abhinav will not be able to answer those. Like minimum investment of 150, why is it showing 1,000? Probably these are best answered by a broker as well. I'm just picking out questions which have relevance for Abhinav. Wasim is asking a good question. When we have such great returns, why don't we see more options in Sharia compliant funds? Very good question, Wasim. It is already been seconded by Abhinav that yes, the sector and the theme of investment itself is very strong. Any fund manager will respond to market demand. So if we are displaying that market demand, other fund managers will follow. As of now, I can see that it's 1,000 crore plus in the AUM of Tata Ethical Fund. I mean, and this has been going on for like 20 years now. If we feel and if we want this sector to grow and we want other fund managers to also launch Sharia compliant products, then the AUM of just 1,000 crores in one fund which is 20 years old is not very encouraging. So there is a dual responsibility. The first step has already been taken by Tata Ethical Fund through the Tata AMC that they have made this available for you. Now, if we do not invest in it and if we like the theme, if we are good with the risk parameters and all the disclaimers as has been given in financial products, the AUMs must rise. As the AUMs rise, other fund managers also start taking cognizance of it. I mean, internally as well, Tata Ethical Fund might have different versions of it. Tata AMC will launch other products as well to satisfy Sharia compliant needs of investors. So we need to start investing in these schemes, and then the entire message to the entire industry will go across saying that yes, this is a good way of creating Sharia compliant returns. So it is a two-way street. It's a one-way street. All right, I'm just trying to dig out more questions. Can NRIs buy the mutual fund? Again, ask your investment advisor. That's the best way. Is there any other AMC fund available which follows Sharia rules? Abhinav has answered that. Under Tata, there isn't, but you will have to come up and search for more. Islamicly team will be able to help you with that. There's a question from Shaki. He says, sir, do you feel that Sharia compliant funds are more beneficial to all investors? Abhinav has already answered that question. He says that yes, compared to conventional funds as well, as of now, the past performance, which is not an indication of future performance, but statistically speaking, as of now, Sharia compliant funds have done much better. So yes, the answer is yes. There's a question from Shadab, but it's more towards an investment advisor. It says, start investing now. It seems to be late. Can I do something for this? I mean, I am not a registered investment advisor, but let me tell you very, very simply, the world started off thousands of years back, right? So why don't we ask the question to ourselves that if I was born thousands of years back, I would have been way ahead in life, right? But that's not practically possible. So there is no such thing as late. Start today. If you decided to invest today and you actually invested tomorrow, yes, you are late by one day. So you have to think of it that way. So there is no such thing as, am I too late for the party? The party is ongoing. It is continuous. It has started the day the world started. It's going to end the day the world is ending. Start whenever you think you're ready. Start whenever you think that you have the risk appetite. Consult your investment advisor. Look at all the disclaimers adequately and go ahead. There is no such thing as starting late. And as Abhinav has already said, you've heard it from the fund manager that SIP investing is, in his personal opinion, a better way and a more structured way and doesn't require timing of the market. So this question of coming in late arises because you might be trying to time the market. But if you're in a SIP scheme, there is no such question of timing the market. As simple as that. So Shadab, nobody's late. Everybody is on time. Just that you could start on time. That's the key thing. Question from Abdullah, how dividends are paid to investors? Again, it's a technical question for the product team to answer. So I will skip that. Over here, Mr. Dawood's question also I'm going to skip. Tax the question also I am going to skip. Any questions for Abhinav? Okay, there are lots of questions which probably the product team is better equipped to answer. I think we should have a follow-up webinar with the technical teams as to how to invest, what are the exit load factors, what are the cost factors. It's a very good encouraging response over here. How long should we invest? A lot of questions which will go to the product team over here. Okay, there's a good question from Syed Mohyuddin. He says, I understand as per SEBI, all mutual funds should invest some part of their, I think he means their AUM in bonds and debentures. What is the percentage of Tata Ethical Fund invested in such portfolio? So there are two parts of this question. He understands that SEBI is mandating a fund manager to invest in bonds and debentures. So is that true or not? The second part is, if it is true, what is the percentage that Tata Ethical is invested in such instruments?
So as far as I know, there is no such SEBI mandate for to invest in bonds and debentures. There are specific funds which we call as hybrid funds, which have investment both in equity and on fixed income side. But they are that kind of funds which have the mandate to do it. But there is no such SEBI imposed condition that every mutual fund has to invest in bonds and debentures. In fact, uh, for most of the equity related mutual funds, it's almost 100% equity which you have to invest in. You can keep certain amount of cash which is there, but other than that, it's only 100% equity is what we invest in. And in Tata Ethical Fund, it's only equity, no bonds and debentures.
Perfect. Couple of other questions as well. It says, do you have any ethical pension scheme from Tata? If you ask ethical pension schemes, I believe there might be certain products which are the pension schemes, and from an AMC perspective, all schemes are ethical. Don't worry about it. I think you're more referring to a Sharia compliant pension scheme. Unfortunately, there isn't any as of now under the Tata umbrella. So I just wanted to make that clear. I'm ignoring the technical questions which are related to how to invest the dividends, the purification parts of it. The NRI questions, I think there is a good need for a product team member from Tata to come in, and we will organize a follow-up seminar as to the technical aspects of investing. The DNAT process, the KYC process, direct versus regular, what are the technical aspects as to how can you redeem, what is the amount of money that you can put in, and stuff like that. We'll have that follow-up webinar as well. Okay, again we're getting questions. I think that sums up all the questions over here. I don't think we should keep Abhinav waiting for longer than this. And what we will do right now is, I think we should thank Abhinav for his time, and I hope this 45 minutes to an hour that he spent with us has given you the confidence that yes, Tata Ethical Fund is in good hands, and you have a good view from the fund manager directly as to who and what they are, their philosophy, their compliance to Sharia, their sensitivity to Sharia, and their outlook for the fund, and the process of how they select constituents of the fund. I think that has given a good rounded view to all the viewers over here today. What we will do is we'll let Abhinav go, and I can continue on this webinar to answer the questions regarding Sharia compliance, because that has nothing much to do with Abhinav. I'll be happy to answer those questions as to why this is compliant or why that is not compliant, and I hope that will answer maximum of your questions. So there you go. I think it was a great session. Abhinav, thank you for giving your valuable time over here. As you can see, the response is quite encouraging. And if we continue to do the way we have been performing, I think this fund has a very bright future. Thank you, Abhinav. Thanks for your time. We'll get back to you if we have any more questions through email to your team. Thank you. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thanks, Abdul, and thanks to the audience also for a very encouraging participation. And we'll look forward to get in touch with you guys again.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks a lot. I'll be here so people can ask me questions. Take care, Abhinav.
Sure. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. I hope this was a good session, as you have heard from the fund manager directly. I will go to the question and answer session back, and I'll take all the questions from here onwards so that we have assurance. Now, let me just summarize what we have done as of now. So we've had Abhinav Sharma, who is the fund manager for the Tata Ethical Fund. Tata Ethical Fund is a Sharia compliant fund. Why are we calling it a Sharia compliant fund? क्योंकि उनके पास Sharia certification है. The Sharia certification has come in from a credible Sharia advisor, जिसके ऊपर credible Sharia scholars ने sign off किया है. Clear disclaimer, Islamically, Sharia scholars have not looked into the compliance of this fund. Islamically, Sharia scholars do not have not looked into it and have not given a certification of compliance on this. We are relying on the fact that the fund itself has a Sharia certification from a third-party credible source. And this view of all Sharia scholars globally is, as long as any Sharia compliant product has a Sharia certification directly from a Sharia scholar, we should accept it as Sharia compliant. So that settles that matter over there. Now, we will have another webinar inshallah in the future, जहाँ पर हम आपको technical aspects, जो आज काफी सारे questions हैं, I think 50% जो questions आज आए हैं webinar पे, they're asking about the technical aspects, कि हमको कितना minimum invest करना है, कैसे invest कर सकते हैं, इसकी KYC process क्या है, इसके returns कैसे होंगे, इसके dividends कैसे account होंगे, इसकी purification कैसे होती है, इसकी purging कैसे होती है. These are technical or questions which were not relevant for the fund manager. So what we wanted to do is get the fund manager in front of you, जिससे आपका confidence बढ़े कि हाँ आपका जो पैसा है जो टाटा एथिकल फंड में मैनेज हो रहा है वो एक अच्छे हाथों में है, एंड उनका थॉट प्रोसेस क्या है, उनका लॉन्ग टर्म विजन क्या है, एंड आर दे बुलिश अबाउट द एंटायर managing the entire fund. So you've heard directly from the fund manager and we thank him for his time. Inshallah, we will have a follow-up webinar to this wherein ये सारे technical questions जो मैंने अभी outline किए, इसके बारे में we will get somebody from their team to answer these technical questions. Thirdly, as I've said, inshallah, very soon you will be able to buy or invest into such funds directly from the Islamicly app. Especially the Tata Ethical Fund is what you will be able to buy directly from the Islamicly app. We're working on it. Very, very soon you will have that option which will come up both on the website as well as on the app as well. Okay, people are asking questions regarding Islamicly app. Are there any discount for Islamicly app? There are hundreds of discounts that we keep coming up. Please go to the app, go to the offer section and you will find a discount over there. अगर आपको वहाँ पे कोई discount नहीं मिल रहा है, there is no current offers, please get in touch with our customer support team and we will ensure that we give you the best available option, because the intention is to have as many people on the app to benefit from investing in a Sharia compliant manner rather than increasing our subscriptions. Okay, all of these questions, how much charges will be deducted at the time of drawing and at the time of payment, all of these questions will be written down and we will inshallah put it up in the FAQ section for you to learn and have the answers on. Okay. Technical questions, as I've already said, we'll have a follow-up seminar on this as early as probably in a couple of weeks itself, so that we can have all of these questions answered. Whether NRIs can invest in it, and if yes, how do they do that? What's the maximum return that you could expect? Lots of NRIs on this call. Lots of NRIs on this call. Azzy, if you're looking to subscribe to the Islamicly app, please go to the app, and there are lots and lots of offers over there currently. Saihu is suggesting a very good thing. Why can't Islamicly and Abhinav work together to create a new mutual fund? Inshallah, as we have more and more people joining the Islamic investing revolution, why not? Nothing is impossible. If the intention is to give you products which are Sharia compliant, inshallah, one day, why not? Shaki asking a technical question again. We will answer that inshallah when the product team of Tata will be here with us the next time around. We will take up all of these questions and we will answer all of these questions as well. What we can currently do as well is we have your questions. We will take those questions, get the answers from the product team at Tata, and publish all of these answers on our blog, which will host this video as well. We'll have a write-up on the Tata Ethical Fund, and these questions will also be there under it. I'm just skipping the questions which we think we've already answered. Okay, I think okay, very good question. Muhammad Abu Bakr said, Assalamu alaikum Abdul Hadi. You have always told to stick to one Sharia compliant app. So can we still buy this fund? Absolutely yes. When you're doing DIY investing, okay, that is you are picking the stock yourself and figuring it out whether it's Sharia compliant or not. Stick to one criteria because you are doing it yourself. But when it comes to structured products, let's say an ETF, a mutual fund, a PMS scheme, or a pension scheme, it's a third-party managed product. Now, in this, when it comes to third-party managed products, the criteria that you should always look out for, that does this investment product have a Sharia certification? And most importantly, does this have a periodic Sharia audit? So do they have a recent enough Sharia audit within the past 1 year of their fund? Third thing that you have to ensure is the certification should be given by a Sharia scholar. You cannot, I mean, it's not recommended that if a product manager or a fund says that we are Sharia compliant, but they do not have a certification, they do not have a Sharia scholar signing off on it, they do not have an audit mechanism, it's more likely that the compliances may not, I'm not saying will not, it may not be adhered to strictly. So let's put our trust into the Sharia scholars certification as of now. And if we have a certification, even if the criteria is different, we should go ahead and invest in those products if we are happy with the risk return parameters over there. So conflict of Sharia screening criteria is not a big issue. Yes, credibility of the Sharia equity screening provider is an issue. You should make a decision as to which Sharia equity screening provider is the most credible or you are more comfortable with. But in terms of structured products, I've given you 3 pointers: Sharia certification, Sharia audit, and signed by a Sharia scholar. The criteria used underlying may not be same, but if you have these 3 parameters on a structured product, inshallah, it should be good to go. I think, yes, I've covered most of the questions and I have a couple of things to do as well. Thank you for being a lovely audience. As I said, there will be a follow-up webinar as well, in which we will give you more technical answers to investing in mutual funds in India as well as abroad as well. And that's the intention of the Islamicly platform, to bring as many financial products which are Sharia compliant and bring to you the most credible source of hearing on that product. I hope you enjoyed the session today. If you love what we are trying to do, please go and review us on the Islamicly app. We really need your reviews. Please spread the word amongst your friends, family, that Islamicly app is here. And as we build a community, it's the world will stand up and take notice, and we'll have more and more Sharia compliant products which can help the entire community. Thank you for your time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.